Hey, book lovers! I'm Aubrey,
And I'm Peyton.
and today we are going to review Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter.
Yes, so just a cup of coffee as we dive between these paper sheets.
Let's do this.
Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome to this week's
Hey!
podcast. I'm super, super excited to get into this lovely book. A little bit different than what we usually review on this
Yeah.
channel on this podcast, but I think we're gonna have a lot of fun in respect to the end of summer here. Just a fair warning: there are spoilers in this episode, but this is our NS section, our non-spoiler section, so we will let you know
Yes.
when we enter our spoiler section. But if you have, I'm sure you've seen this book cover at least and are interested in our thoughts of it, you can stick around and get a little overview of what you're getting yourself into. So without further ado, Aubrey is going to give you a little, plot introduction to this story.
Yes. All right, guys. Better Than the Movies, we have here a girl will never forget the first boy she likes, but she'll also never forget the first boy she hates. Which brings us to our story. This is a rom-com about rom-coms, as our main character Liz, who is obsessed with everything rom-com and music and happily ever afters and romance involved, attempts to secure her own happily ever after moment with the boy that she loved as a child, Michael, who has recently moved back from town and she wants to go to prom with him. It's coming up.
Obviously.
But in order to do so, she needs to scheme a little. And so, what does our girl Liz do? She goes to her next door neighbor, Wes, who she has this kind of like rival enemy arc going on right now. They're fighting over what they call the spot, capital S. Which is a parking spot right in front of their house. They live right next door to one another. They squabble over this little parking spot all the time, but she has offered Wes her spot, the spot. She will not fight with him anymore. He can have the spot if he helps her secure her perfect date for prom.
Yes.
And you can imagine where these shenanigans take us. We have a little bit of fake dating involved. It's very cutesy rom-com inspired.
Yes, this book in general just it's a rom-com about rom-coms. Like and I
Yeah.
think Lynn Painter does not hide from that fact in this book. He
No.
does not shy away from it. Actually, at the beginning of every chapter is a blurb from a rom-com. This book is a book I would have obsessed over as a 14-year-old.
For sure, for sure. I felt like this book was so cinematic. You can just see
Yes.
it so clearly. It definitely is for fans of and she even mentions it in here, like, "To all the boys I loved before." I feel like Liz very much fits that aesthetic, and so reading this kind of felt like coming home to those, like, movies and genre that I love and that I haven't seen work so well in print before.
Yeah.
Like, this felt like reading a movie rather than, like, a book, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's something very, like, conversational about this book,
Mhm.
and she's able to really like we said, we keep on saying the word cinematic, like, you can visually see the scenes pop
Yeah.
off the page, and
Mhm.
I think that has a lot to do with her writing style, which I kinda wanna go over some, like, overall thoughts, of course, no spoilers, but this writing style is easy to just absolutely consume.
Oh, for sure.
There's something, like, wickedly also deep about it at times, where you're like, "Oh, shit, okay," like, this little
Oh,
teeny bopper
we're
book
going
just, like,
there?
stabbed me in the heart. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it doesn't take itself too seriously,
No.
um, which is just listen, as primarily a fantasy reader, it is so nice to just cozy up on the couch and read this
Mhm.
book in a day. Like, it
Yeah.
was so fun. It was a good, fun time. Um, and of course, I think that has to do also that I think she kind of mastered the tropes in this book.
Yeah.
Fake dating. It's not like a secretive fake dating. It's a fun rom-com fake dating.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like kind of for the writing style, this book is one of those that proves that you can have like mastery over the craft without needing to be complex. We don't
Right.
all need to be Olive Blake, and you can still deliver a great story. And the prose kind of made it because it was so simple but unentertaining. And I think that's hard to do. We
It
read a
is.
lot of books that aren't like the highest stylized prose, but that doesn't always mean that you're getting the message delivered the most like efficiently. We just read a book that was longer than it needed to be, and that was because of the prose and that writer's style choice. But to have this like quirky, funny, good feeling prose that's delivered in a way it's like, "Hey, you don't have to think about this. You know what you're getting. You're enjoying what you're getting." Felt really good.
I think that is her goal when sitting down to write these.
Mhm.
And I think if you did not grow up watching 90s rom-coms, this book could actually be a miserable experience for you. So
Yeah.
I feel like I really want to preface that because as we get into our characters here, Lynn Painter, I forgot her name for a second, the author of this book, she and her the way she I read one other book of hers, The Do-Over, and the main characters
Mhm.
are very similar cuz I think that female lead in a rom-com is supposed to be one a little cringy and two a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
So getting into these main characters here, our main characters of course are Liz and Wes. They're next door neighbors, always fighting over the
Mhm.
spot. So
Yeah.
Liz is who we get the point of view from. She's our hopeless romantic, obsessed with these rom-coms. Everything that happens in her life, she compares to the movies. Like she
Yep.
compares every and songs, like soundtracks.
Mhm.
To the point in this book that you will be tired of her painting the picture of her life through a movie score. Um it's it's a lot. But if you're in it for like the bit,
Yeah.
it's the best.
Honestly, I think my eyes just kinda glazed over those sections because a lot of the times, like, it was a
I
song
didn't
that I
care.
didn't know, and I was like, "Eh, whatever," and, like, it didn't impede my reading experience too
Okay,
much.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know you got annoyed by it, but I was just like I was like, "Oh, okay."
I only and it's funny because once I saw, like, a Taylor Swift song, I was like, "Oh my god, yes, of course." But it's, like, only if I would relate to the song would I care. So
Yeah.
that could be a reader error. But on the other hand, we have Wes,
Yes.
which, makes me wanna be 17
Mhm.
again.
Yeah.
Wes is the neighbor that Liz just hates. They were
Mhm.
friends growing up, but now she's just the best thing is he didn't really ever do anything crazy to her. She just is so annoyed by him and he
Yeah.
likes to pick on her and she takes that
Mhm.
as wow, he hates me. He's so annoying. He wants me to fail in life like whereas
Mhm.
he actually enjoys doing it. So he really enjoys the banter with her and that starts right away in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the lesson of, like, you know how, when you're little, like a little girl, they'll be like, "Oh, that guy's picking on you because he likes you," and you're, like, told
Yep.
that, and it's like, "Well, why the fuck does he have to be mean about it to do it?" No one told Liz it's because he likes her,
No one did.
and she was just like, "He's just an ass."
Yep.
And, some of he pulled some nasty pranks on her as a kid. I would also hold that grudge.
Yeah, because she's very, like, type A. Like, she creates a soundtrack for everything in her life, and, when you have this, like,
Mhm.
dude coming and messing things up, he thinks it's funny because he likes messing with you, but in the same breath, she doesn't find it funny.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
there's that, like, disconnect. Liz is a little out of touch, and Wes is a little bit of, like, just a dude. Um, but they've known each other their whole life, so we kinda get the background of them growing up
Mhm.
next to each other, blah, blah, blah. So,
Blah, blah, blah.
this book, there's not much more to say other than if you just want a nice, fun summer rom-com, this book is for you. I want to
Yes.
unless you have anything else, Aubrey, I would like to just jump right into star rating so we can just talk
I
all
think
about this
that's
book.
perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Do you wanna go first?
Sure. I mean, this is a 5-star for me. I uh I don't give books like this 5 stars because I don't like them. But what we were going on about with the writing style, I just
Yeah.
Aubrey and I like to rate books in the genre in which they lie. I thought 4 at first, but then I every time I looked back at this book and when I read the second book of hers, The Do-Over, I
Mhm.
think it's called. Yeah, The Do-Over. Sorry, it's behind me. Um, I didn't like it as much, so I was like, okay, nope, this is a 5-star, and I
This
have
is
to
5-star.
pay respect to it. So, what did you think?
I also gave it 5 stars,
No
which is a
way!
little wild. Funny
Yeah.
story, earlier this year was my first romance books 5-star, and now I have my second. So I don't know, maybe I'm just getting more comfortable within the contemporary romance genre, that I can, like, enjoy it a bit more. But I thought it was super cute. I was getting those, like, butterflies. It was very quick read. I started it literally Sunday at the beach. I read like 30 pages, and then got home and I was like, I need to finish this book. I'm going to keep reading this book until I finished it. So I read it super quickly, like in 3 days, I think, total. Really enjoyed the story. Sometimes I hate fake dating, but I
Yeah.
think everything was dealt with exactly how I wanted it to be dealt with. Like, our main character made mistakes, but they all were like, "Oh, no, I could see that. That's reasonable." And we didn't linger too long on anything, which was
Exactly.
perfect for
Yeah,
me,
the
I think.
pacing was good too.
But I think the pacing was spot on. Every, like, next scene that we got to was, like, exactly where I wanted to be. I don't love B plots that much in romance books. Usually a romance author to me excels at like the tension and the banter and the romance, which Lynn Painter does. But then you get to like the main character's personal struggle and you're
You're
like, I
like,
don't
"Ugh."
care. Like, this
Yeah.
doesn't captivate me at all. But I felt like the side plot was minimal
And important.
and entwined with all of her relationships. So Liz
Yeah.
is grieving the loss of her mother from a child, and that like loss plays into everything. You know how like we were talking about like somehow some books have like too many things going on with them?
Yeah.
I think this perfectly was like, okay, we're going to have 3 things going on. They're all going to be tied to like this extra thing. And it was perfectly executed, the right amount of pages for a romance book. 5 stars.
5 stars. Yes, I think it's all intertwined perfectly. So, with that being said, if you haven't read the book
Yes.
yet, get out of here and come back for our spoiler section
Ready.
because we are now jumping into our spoiler section. When writing this, Aubrey and I, we said this before, we do like brief, just kind of thoughts we write down that we make sure we
Yes.
hit because we'll ramble on forever. I thought a good way of doing this, because I was reading some people's reviews and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, there's I think a good way to go about doing this is like a pros and cons list. And then we can talk about the plot through there because I don't want to summarize the whole plot. If you read the book, you already
Yeah.
kind of know what's going on. I just want to talk about the things that were important to us or stood out to us
Yes.
and whatever that I think we should pay attention to. So, because we're feeling positive, let's start with the pros first. So I'll start us off
All
because I
right.
kind of wrote these are all like my crazy thoughts I wrote
Yes.
down. So the pros and just jumping in once again, this book
Mhm.
is a vibe. The vibe check is
Yes.
good. It's like
Yeah.
it's there. Um,
Mhm.
if like oh my like 10 Things I Hate About You is my favorite movie. And when I read and I like I forget what chapter it was, there was a 10 Things I Hate About You blurb, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, 5 stars. Like that's all I needed
Oh,
to
it
know.
was so cute. Those quotes, like, getting to see some of your favorites, and I haven't seen all of them, but, like, Sweet Home Alabama for me was,
Oh
like, a
my
big one
gosh,
in my
yeah.
household.
Yep.
So that was, like, I think chapter 1, and I was like, my favorite," and it, like I like the little inclusion of those epigraphs.
Yes, 100%. I wrote down where was this book, especially Wes when I was 16, which I just mentioned before. Um it felt I said this a lot. I went to
Mhm.
a book exchange party the other week, and I brought this for the summer swap, and I was like, "Oh," and the main character, I was like, "Wait, I feel really weird saying this because he's literally 17." Because now I'm at the age where, like, reading these young books and falling in love with the male love interest is, like, kind of
Yeah.
weird. No, but
Yeah.
really, he the way that Lynn Painter was able to, like, write him and his
Mhm.
tension and his banter, like, that's exactly the type of male character I looked for when I was in high school reading these types of books. It's like,
No, I
he's
totally
perfect.
agree. Like,
He's
he
amazing.
was a perfect, like, high school boy. Also, you're kinda talking about, like, "Oh, but, like, we're not 17 anymore," like, with him. I
Yeah.
did like, when Helena was like, "No, he's cute," but, like, "Oh, I said that in kind of a weird way. I don't mean it in a weird way. You know I don't mean it in a weird way, like an adorable, cute way." And it was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, like like, we're
That's
not
what I mean, like, I'm the mom, like,
actually" yeah. Like, I'm getting, like, butterflies from the situation for Liz.
for Liz. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, like, also Wes, come on, and every
Ugh,
you know what's so funny?
yes.
Even people that gave this, book, like, 2, 3 stars, they're
Mhm.
like, "I didn't like the book, but I'm giving this star for Wes."
Yeah.
Like, across the board, I
Yeah.
have not heard one person not like Wes, so
No, he was
therefore, I feel
great.
seen and loved, so, yes, I found myself constantly grinning, um, reading his banter and his exchanges,
Yes.
and just everything. I thought I was gonna hate him, and then I was like, "Wait, I actually think I hate
Wait.
someone else," who we'll get into later.
Wait.
Um, just such a great palate cleanser and also
Mhm.
just the cinematic elements of this book. So
Yeah.
we can jump down because we're talking cinema. I could we jump down to some favorite scenes?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Because talk about movie scenes just so we can get into some of the gritty details of the book. I have my two here, which you see, but are there any
Mhm.
that you have that aren't listed?
S talk about your first one,
Okay.
while I think.
Because, I mean, these are it. So, in during the book, when they start texting,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
so cute to see their exchanges,
Mhm.
and she finds out that he's watching rom-com. I forget
Yeah.
which one it was. You've just read the book, but
I
she, like,
know.
they
Oh,
can
it
see.
was Miss Congeniality.
Oh, yes. And she's teasing him, like, blah, 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 and they can
Mhm.
see each other through their houses because there's some it literally it's "You Belong With Me, Taylor." Like, Taylor
Yeah,
Swift, "You Belong
yeah.
With Me," like, with the sign, like, "Are you okay?" Like, that is it. That is this book.
Why'd
"You
you turn
Belong
the
With
light
Me."
off?
Yeah, "Why'd you turn the light off?" And so he's, like, on his couch, and he's like,
Mhm.
it would seem creepy, but they were, like, both really into it.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the turning points where her attention wasn't fully on Michael anymore, and it
Yeah.
was on Wes.
Yes.
I love that, and then she started making the playlist for each other then, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Oh, she's down bad."
Oh, she's down bad. Well, and, like, obviously, from a reader's perspective, you can tell that, like, Wes was always into her, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not really a hidden thing, and I don't think it needs to be. Liz can't because of movie magic, because if she knew that, the story would be ruined.
Yes.
But I like him being like, "Make sure you add, like, someone like you to our playlist." Like, he was, like, always flirting with her. And this isn't, like, my favorite scene, but I do love at one point, he was like, "Yeah, but, like, what if something's, like, right in front of you the whole time?" Like, he literally was like, "Liz, what about me?" Without saying, "What about me?" But, like, so fucking close, and this was so early in their, like, relationship, or even when she was like, "Let's fake date," he was like, "We could be good together." Like, man was not shy about it.
No, like, he was very upfront, but of course he did the typical male rom-com where he's like, "I need to let her be happy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I want
yeah.
what she wants."
Mhm.
Yeah, so, like, when they made that deal, in his living room,
Yeah.
that was, like, she literally was like, "You're gonna do this, and you can have the
Yeah.
parking spot." Like, this all over a flapping parking spot, which he
Mhm.
didn't even care about.
No,
We
no, he
find
was
out,
like
like, he did not even care about.
he parked in the driveway until she got her car.
Yeah.
That was so cute.
It's
That
so
was so cute.
cute. So my favorite scene is the backyard.
Okay. Yeah.
People were not okay with the, like, cherry cigar thing on Goodreads. I was like, "Relax, like, they're high schoolers, I think it's kinda cool, they're not drinking." But I like that how they, like, hung out back there
Yeah.
before, the one
Mhm.
backyard scene,
Yeah.
which
You know
felt
what?
very, like, naked on the bed, and then he comes home with his friends, sort of.
Yeah. I wanna talk about the cigar thing real quick because
Yeah.
I feel like this book did a really good job of accurately painting high school without, like, going too far in any way, but, like, even, like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure Lynn Painter is, like, in her 50s or something, like, she does not look young in her picture. But she was like, "Oh, like, vape." She didn't have like, even the mean girl, Lainey, like, clearly wasn't a mean girl and was a full dimensional person. They didn't lean
Right.
too hard in, like, the popular kids and, like, some of that stuff that went a little too far in high school rom-coms like Clueless and Mean Girls
Mean
and stuff
Girls,
like that.
yeah.
I feel like they accurately painted it so much, and I'm positive that this is a YA book. And so YA books
Yeah.
are written for teenagers, and we are just guests in this space coming and reading it. But I know that the primary audience is, especially for a book like this, probably 14 to 17-year-olds.
Yep.
Why why couldn't it be accurate? Like, I'm not saying that you should have fucking spice, like full on
Smut.
sex scenes in the book
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But like smoking cigars, drinking beer. When Liz is like, I wanted to be fucking him. She's like, and I'm still a virgin, kind of. Like that was all
Yeah.
I feel like so accurate. And
That's real, though.
but I feel like I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if it was missing those like realistic. I don't know. I feel like some people forget what it's like to be a teenager, and it hasn't been that long
Yeah.
for us. So maybe we still have time to forget.
Yeah, it's not the geeks and the popular kids, like
Yeah, people were fucking in middle school where I went to school. Like,
just insane.
I don't think we should write about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we should definitely let almost 18-year-olds, potentially 18. I mean, they're seniors. I was 18 almost the entirety of my senior year. Smoke a cigar.
Yeah, like, guys, have fun. But the thing is, like, she also showed that, like, Wes and Liz are really good kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there was that,
Mhm.
that balance, and once again, I think that's what made this book feel so amazing
Yeah.
because it felt we could at some point you can relate to Liz's
Mhm.
journey in some way, whether it's the boy trouble, whether it's her friend trouble, whether it's going
Yeah.
through the grieving process and not really understanding the
Mhm.
full picture. Yes, this is cinematic. This is a rom-com. We're supposed to
Yeah.
have more, the climax and her at prom and like all that stuff is supposed to have this more big crescendo
Mhm.
effect than maybe our experiences. But
Yeah.
in general, it's supposed to feel like a mix a perfect blend of that Mean Girls Clueless with reality. So the backyard hangout I absolutely loved. I did not
Yes.
love when she was gonna surprise him and he started walking in with that chick and I was like, "Oh no, girl." And
Yeah,
she left that mixtape on his front porch, like the secondhand embarrassment.
that was bad. We'll get into that. I think my favorite scene was probably the kiss scene. I'm a sucker for a first kiss. The fact that they were like wet in the rain. Um
Oh yes.
and then like he froze and then he like went into it when he realized it was really happening. I don't know. I love a good kiss scene.
I can see that like on the screen.
That's always the moment where I'm like, look, they're kissing.
Especially them who have, the enemies to lovers
Yes.
plot.
Oh, and I love that she made the move. That he, like,
Yes.
didn't, like, catch on to her, like, being into him and make the move, but that she was like, "Wes isn't gonna do this. Imma fucking do it. Imma go for my
Yes.
man."
Yes. I don't think Wes would've. I
No, because he was so certain, I mean, rightfully so, for a majority of this book that she wasn't into him.
yeah. And, like, let's be real, this whole book, like, I don't even know if I have the word Michael on the script. Yes, he's supposed to be the love interest, but
Yeah.
he is merely just I thought it was so funny to see the text exchanges
Oh,
between
yeah.
Michael's like, "Oh, I really thought he was into you," and, like, he said these things about
Yeah,
you, and
yeah.
that's when she was like, oh shit, I was faking, but he kind of wasn't. And
He wasn't. He still said those things about me. I don't think I know those things about him.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, because I think if you compare it, in the very beginning of the book, she was like, "Oh, I know these things about Wes, and he probably knows less about me." And that would have been the same time frame when he sent that text, and, like, so clearly he knew everything about her.
Yes.
It's so cute. I love in contemporary romance, and only contemporary romance, when the guy is so smitten head over heels with the girl.
Yes. But he did it in, like, a way that we like our fantasy men to do, where they're kind of reserved and held back a little bit,
Yeah.
which was fun. So Wes has some of the best quotes in this book
Okay.
to kind of wrap up our prose.
Yes, yes, yes.
So this is like these are like the three most popular ones. The first one,
Mhm.
he says, sometimes we get so tied up in our idea of what we think we want that we miss out on the amazingness of what we could actually have, which is what you
That's
are
what I was
referring to. Yeah. So you that is a good
Yes,
quote, Aubrey, because you
it stuck
remembered
with
it.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, what a profound thing to put in a YA
Uh-huh.
novel.
Yeah. No, but that's so perfect, and, like, having that message just, like, so subtly weaved in by our hot love interest. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn Painter.
Thanks, Wes. And this book, Liz, which is interesting because in all of Lynn Painter's books that I've read thus far, her main characters are kind of like this. Liz dresses a little bit different.
Mhm.
And in this book, Wes basically gives her like a makeover. But
Yeah.
we get to a point in the book where he's like, I don't care what you wear. I like you the way you
Mhm.
are. And he
Yeah.
says, I feel like I'm like in AP Lit. And he
And he
says,
says
you look best when you're you. You look best when you're you. Like,
I
isn't
love
that what we
that.
want? Like our
Yes.
person to tell us, like,
Yeah.
with you don't have to look a certain way to fit in because I like
Mhm.
you. Like the weird dresses she wears or the shoes she chooses. Like
Yeah.
he likes her and like fell in love with her because of that. He was
Yeah.
just playing into the bit. What would Michael like? Really?
Right. Well, and I know that it's not written to be such, but as someone who has OCD, I felt like I could see a little bit of that in Liz, especially so at first he's like, this is what you need. This is a makeover. This is what you should do to look better for Michael. And then he's like, "No, I love the crazy way you dress." And then eventually he gets to the point where he's like, "Hey, you're acting like your life is a script. You need to come to senses." He had his like Jess, like, "Why did you drop out of Yale?" moment. And she's like, "You don't have to, like, I love the way you dress. I love when you look like you. But if you want to wear casual clothes sometimes or straighten your hair, like, you can do both." And I feel like Liz got very caught up in, like, this is my aesthetic. This is who I am. I need to always
Identity.
have my lipstick on. I need to have a weird dress on. I need to have weird shoes on because that's my identity, my
That's
aesthetic.
my character, like in a
Yes,
rom-com.
and I felt so seen by that because I will get caught up and I'll be like, "No, I dress like dark academia or something," and I'll be so stuck in that visual that it's like, "Oh, no, you might also like this other thing."
And that's okay.
So I enjoyed that.
It's funny because even when Wes and Liz were shopping, he never made her
Mhm.
feel like she was, like, not cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember when they were, like, shopping, like,
Mhm.
remembering being like, "Oh, that sucks that he said that to her," you
No, no,
know?
he always I felt like that when the way Joss talked to her. Like, when she showed back up to school wearing, like, her fun dress again,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Joss was like, "Why are you wearing that? Like, I thought we were over this. I thought you were dressing like a normal person again." Joss had a little bit of that edge,
Yes.
but never Wes.
I'm happy they didn't put it on Wes. He says to her, "Enemies to lovers, it's our trope, Bucks bomb," which is
Mhm.
hilarious. Um
Mm.
Because it's like he knew what she was into, and
Yeah,
to
yeah,
even
yeah.
that a man even knows what the word trope means and tropes in general is like, how old are
But
you again?
he was so into rom-coms.
Because
Like, he
yeah, but
was genuinely watching them and knew them as well.
I
It was
know.
so cute. Yeah.
It was so cute. I literally said I loved how cliche and cheesy this whole book was.
Mhm.
But also everything we just said before, it also like had some like real like soul crushing like oh fuck he did say that perfect blend that this
Yes.
book was balanced. um
Yes.
oh, I wanted to mention his sweatshirt, or does he give her his
Yeah.
sweatshirt and she wears it like to bed and I'm like
Oh
oh
my god,
girl.
and I wish we would've, like, lingered on that more because she just so casually
He's
mentions at the
wearing it.
very end, his sweatshirt that I've been sleeping in every night. I was like, when you were texting Michael and, like, they were having their little, "Oh, maybe, really?" And it was like, that's, like, so stifled, awkward, like, I swear to God, if you look back at my text message history as a high schooler, you'd find the exact same conversation. It was so
Yes.
perfectly realistic.
Yep.
I wanna know that she was in Wes's sweatshirt during that moment. That could have been, useful information. Why were you keeping that from us?
And also Liz, look in the fucking mirror, girl. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Even
Come on.
her new mom, her stepmom or whatever, like she was
Yeah.
like, "Are you sure you don't like Wes?
Yeah, she's like, "But, like, what about Wes?"
Are you sure?"
Interesting.
I loved going through the heartbreak of Liz finding out she likes Wes and like but they're not
Yeah.
talking and she sees his
Mhm.
truck in like the driveway and that's when she
Yeah.
goes through that spiraling where she like
Mhm.
makes herself look stupid. 'Cause, like, that's realistic. I've done that so many times
Yeah.
where I'm like, I caused this or, like, something blew up,
Mhm.
it didn't work out, and now, like, he's quiet or they're quiet and they're not really talking to me, and I make a bigger deal out of something. Like, he
Yeah.
wasn't that upset.
No.
Like,
Mm-mm.
he was not really fazed by this. He just thought she just needed her space.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and she got mad at him for, like, dancing with her, but it's like, you didn't come with it. She literally you know what? Maybe I don't like Liz as much because I relate to her too much to, like she makes these, like she lives okay, that's true. She lives in a movie in her head, like, everything
Yeah.
has a narrative and, like, she already knows the end picture and, like, what it can be, and if that doesn't happen, she
Mhm.
gets so upset with herself
Yeah.
that, like, she creates things and mixtapes and looks stupid in the backyard of, her neighbor's house. 'Cause she's like, "But we're in love." He's like, "Are what?"
What?
Like, what?"
No, I do wish that the
Relatable.
prom scene kinda heading into our cons here, I wish that we had gotten a little bit more of our resolution still at prom. Just because and I feel like part of it was that Liz was, like she had pictured such a cinematic thing and then, like, actually being in that and realizing it's not what she wanted and
She didn't
leaving
get it.
early. I can see the reasoning for it, but I also feel like it's so close to the end of the year. She's been avoiding all of her senior activities. I kind of wish she got the prom she wanted with Wes. You know what I mean? Or like with Joss, but she got like to dance with Wes or something like that. Like the
Yeah,
fact that it
that's
all
fair.
got resolved like that night, but not actually any prom. I was
Yeah,
like,
Lynn was
hmm.
like, "These always, like, get settled at prom." Like, think about Mean Girls, like
Yeah.
so she's
Yeah.
almost like, "We're not doing that," which I respect, but also, yeah,
Hmm.
you kind of wanted Liz to have that moment,
Yeah.
especially since it's something, like, her and her mom always talked about. Um,
Yeah, or like
so
Wes was like, "Buy that dress, I'm begging of you." And then we didn't get to see him like reacting to the
yes.
dress. I think there is a bonus chapter somewhere of his point of view, that might display that, but I wanted in the real thing.
I know. Well, speaking of something different and
Yes.
balance and tying in things, pro for
Mhm.
me was the growth of her accepting Helena as her mom because she had
Yeah.
tried so damn hard this whole book.
Yeah.
It was so smart of her to kind of use that as like a B plot of
Mhm.
this ongoing like, hey, maybe you should invite her to your prom dressing, and then the you're not my
Yeah.
mom, you'll never be my mom, blah blah, to the
Mhm.
now she calls her mom, and it feels I don't know, I
Yeah.
really appreciated Lynn opening up that discussion because even if it's not your mom, I think a lot of kids experience that while growing up, even
Yeah.
just split families in general, like, that feeling is
Mhm.
definitely something that's very, um, relevant, is that a word? Prevalent in there it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
prevalent in, um kids growing up. And it
Mhm.
also shows that grief is such a continuous and long process that
Yes.
affected her friendships, her
Mhm.
romance ships,
Yeah.
and her relationship with her dad and her,
Yep.
stepmom.
And the arc wasn't her getting over her mom.
No.
It was learning that duality, which was perfect.
Yes. Yes. So, not to ramble on too long, but if you're ready,
Yes.
we can move on to the cons.
Yes, I actually already had for a second, and then I realized that we missed a point. So I'm all good. I think
Oh,
my biggest con really is just the prom scene, like I said.
oh,
But let's get into
yeah.
yours.
That's totally fair. I if I wanted to pick this book apart, which I don't think this book is not supposed to be taken too seriously. But if we were
Yeah.
the Goodreads reviewers of our
Mhm.
generation today, we would. Um Liz definitely is not a favorable main character. She is incredibly immature compared to Wes, but I think that is on purpose and it
Yeah.
people are shitting on this, and I wanted to like talk about this because maybe some of you guys feel like this.
Mhm.
It's that's supposed to be the point. Like of course,
Yeah.
like she's a young, confused, immature, dumb teenager, but like this book is supposed to be like tropey, and it's a teen rom-com
Mhm.
book.
Yes.
Um,
We are in a YA space.
it's
If you're an
supposed to be
adult
a little
judging her for making teenage
cringy.
decisions, that's your fault.
Cringy. Y'all love Mean
Yeah.
Girls, but Katie is literally like
Well,
Liz. Like she's kind of weird and makes stupid mistakes and is stupid.
you know what? I also suffer the biggest secondhand embarrassment. Like, I can't watch some TV shows.
Oh,
They
yes.
become so unbearable for me. Duff is one. I cannot watch that.
Oh.
That movie relies on its comedy being secondhand embarrassment, and I physically can't handle it. I don't think Liz did anything that horrible. Like, I never felt like I had to put the
No.
book down. I think if anything, their maturity levels don't match,
No,
and
they don't.
that is perfect boyfriend syndrome that we see a
Yes.
lot in all forms of romance where the love interest cannot be complex at all because if they make a single mistake, then someone's gonna be like, "They shouldn't have been up together because they did this one thing." Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
everything Wes
Yeah.
did had to be perfect, had to be so mature and whatever because it's about Liz's story. So I
Correct.
think I wouldn't make Liz more mature, I would make Wes a little bit more
Immature.
immature.
We don't need to pick this book apart.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think it would have been bad if he would have made a little bit more mistakes and been a little less perfect as well.
Yeah, I pulled some of this verbiage from a Goodreads review.
Mhm.
So I said like personally, like as a like in my 20s, I would have a very
Yeah.
hard time being friends with this 17, 18-year-old. Um
Mhm.
and like I'm fine with her, but like people couldn't get over her lying to her friend. Once again, it added plot development and also it
Yeah.
moved the story along. And I also
Mhm.
thought it was nice, and this was also Lynn Painter's way of saying romance isn't everything in the story. It really is about Liz's story. Yes, the
Yeah.
romance is the A plot, but
Mhm.
she didn't. I hate when the friend plot comes in because I don't give a fuck.
Well, and it's always like, "Our friendship's ruined because of this
This boy.
mistakes I made because of the
Yeah.
boy."
So, but honestly, like it is kind of weird how like she got really comfortable with lying, but then would like hate other people for different things. But once
Yeah.
again, this is a high school book, so um oh, and then I mentioned my other con. This is literally it. Is the lyrics and music bit. It can get a lot of times, and I think
Yeah.
why it annoyed me is because she did it in the other book I read of hers.
That's true. I think if I read another book with it,
I'm
like,
like,
super close, that would become tiring.
yes, but I really appreciate that like, that's what she does in her books, so, like, I also
Yeah.
really respect it. It just got kind of annoying to me,
Yeah, you probably should have spaced it out a bit more.
yes, but in this book, if you get the physical copy, I don't know about the virtual, like an ebook, but they're at the back, there's, their
Yes.
playlist. So if you're really into, this book,
Super cute.
you're gonna be able to, listen to their playlist. I was gonna try to find it quick. Oh, here it is.
I got it.
Oh, shit, you are quick. Yep.
Mm,
So that is so much fun. She
so
has Taylor Swift
cute.
on here a couple times.
Yes. Paper rings.
New Year's
What else?
Day.
New Year's Day, and because that was playing at prom, which I was like, "That's a little weird prom song to me." But I didn't go to prom because of COVID, so who knows? Um,
Oh, I
I
love that book.
Someone Like You by Adele is on here.
Yes, so much fun. Yes, you guys need to listen to the playlist while you read it, and really
Yeah.
just embrace, Liz's spirit.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion,
In
I definitely
conclusion.
think this is a book you should read if you want to feel like a teenager again.
Mhm.
And then also if you're into 90s rom-coms, I mean, like, come on,
Yes.
enjoy. Indulge
Yeah.
a little bit. Enjoy reading. We don't have to work hard with this world building shit anymore, okay? Just read this book, have some fun, enjoy. This book, it made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me wanna fall
Yes.
in love. It's light and fluffy, and it's the perfect summer read.
Mhm.
And I'm happy that we were able to talk about it right at the end of the summer. If anyone has
Yes,
some
this is our final bit of fun. We will be having no more lighthearted fun. We're heading into fall. It's
yeah, some
all
back to school reading.
fantasy here.
If you don't have anything else, I think we can close this baby
No.
up. So, um,
Yeah.
please, if you like us reading these like YA contemporary-esque romances,
Yeah.
I'd love to read more Lynn Painter. We can read the second one, and I think we won't be as positive in that review, so that could be kind of
Yeah.
fun. So
I don't know
let
if
us
it needed a second book.
well, I'm only gonna do it if someone tells me to.
Yes.
Please comment down below, like, subscribe. We
Yes.
are the Hardcover Podcast on everything, so you will find us there and our faces. So yes, and please subscribe or follow us. And if you're listening on a podcast, rating us really, really helps,
Yes.
more than you know, and I will be
Yes.
eternally grateful.
We're trying to dip our toes into, the more listening podcast platforms,
Yes.
Apple Music,
Yes.
Spotify, I think other things with the
We're on
feed,
there.
but yeah. Yeah, we're there, we're there. Alright, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy reading.